Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race and Strategy Guide. We're in the Group 2 machinery for this one and we're off to Suzuka International Circuit once again. Now thanks to the data miners out there, they are able to provide us with the vast majority of the information for these races, so I'm still able to get the guides out on Monday morning. Now the one thing I have had to guess is the laps, but I do think it will be 10 laps. Tyrewear is going to be at times 3, fuel at times 1. It's just the racing soft tyres that are available. There's no mandatory rules in terms of tyre regs or mandatory pit stops as far as we know. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. Now we have done this combination before in Gran Turismo 7. It is our 5th visit to Suzuka International Circuit as well, and PD do make me laugh because from when I put that community post out sort of highlighting how often we've used each track location, PD have actually then sent us to the 3 most used locations from that post. So honestly, I think they're trolling, I really do. I can't see any other reason for it. I think they've seen that post and went, you know what, let's send them to the 3 most used locations for the next 3 races. But anyway, it is what it is. We're in the Group 2 machinery, and before we move on to the strategy, let's just have a quick talk about your car selection for this one. So if you've been playing the game for a period of time, you'll know that Group 2 is a little bit of a mess. It's an amalgamation of almost like 4 different car categories all flung together, and it doesn't really work very well. It's a big problem in Gran Turismo for me. It's a big problem that shouldn't be a problem. But you've got the 2016 cars, you've got the 2008 cars, you've got the McLaren F1 and the Mercedes CLK, and most recently added you've got the Audi DTM. Now for this one, it should be the 2016 GT500s that will be the strongest cars. That's your Nissan GTR, your Lexus RCF, and your your Honda NSX. And I'm going to test a couple of them here just to see how the tyres handle or last for the full duration of the race. Now, first up we've got the Nissan GTR here. Now everything we say about the Nissan GTR should tend to apply to the Lexus RCF as well, with them both being FR cars, and then we'll take a look at the Honda NSX just after. So there's no mandatory pit stops, there's no tyre regulations, the tyrewear is at times 3, it's the racing soft tyres. The first thing you're obviously going to test is, can you do the no stopper? And the answer to that in the GTR is going to be yes. However, you are going to be fairly second hand on the tyres towards the end, and you're going to suffer massively with drop off in lap time as well. Around about 2 seconds a lap slower at the end as we were at the beginning. But we did get to the end, we had about maybe 15% left on the tyres, and it was 18 minutes 32.5 our finishing time. Now that's me on the wheel, I'm pretty good on the tyres as well. I think for some players with the GTR on the pad, you're probably going to run out of tyres towards the end of the race. So I thought, you know what, let's test the Honda NSX. It does tend to have a slightly better tyre wear than the Nissan GTR. And it turns out that it's actually probably a little bit faster around this track as well. So I won 50.3, I won 50.5 at our opening laps in the Honda, whereas in the Nissan we were doing a 50.8. I think we did 2 50.8s as our first 2 flying laps. So I think, you know, maybe a 50.5, 50.6 was something we should have been doing in the GTR, but it does look like the NSX is a little bit faster around this combination, and on top of that it does also look like it has slightly better tyre wear on the front tyres. Now the tyre doing all the work here, or the tyre doing the most work here, is the front right. And I would say by the time we get to the finish line here in the NSX, is maybe about 5 to 10% better than the same tyre on the Nissan GTR. And you can see how that kind of stacks up when it comes to the lap times as well. So we finished with a 52.7, then a 52.8 in the Nissan GTR. And on lap 9 we've done a 52.3, and I think we finished with a 52, what did we finish here with? It's a 52 flat, so yeah, that better tyre wear just stacks up towards the end of the race. And overall, we went about 3 seconds faster. Now over 18 and a half minutes, that's not a lot, but it does look to me like the NSX has slightly better tyre wear and also is a little bit faster over the lap as well. And that tyre wear then stacks up with that slightly better pace towards the end of the race. So it does look to me like it's going to be a Honda NSX race. Now, let's always just test the pit loss and the, talk about the fuel as well. Always worth testing the pit loss just to see if something's changed at a track or something maybe surprises you a little bit. And maybe you've got a future race or something in Group 2 at Suzuka where you are going to make a pit stop, and you can maybe use this information that we give you here for a race like that. But when it comes to your pit loss, you're looking at around about 16 seconds. So let's just say, I don't know, let's just say you're like the worst driver ever in the entire world on the tyres and you've got no tyres after 7 laps. Would it be worth you making a pit stop? Well, probably not, because even once the tyres are completely worn down, you're maybe losing about 3 seconds a lap. And then you're going to run into this problem as well of, coming into traffic. You're going to be facing the dirty air as well. So I'd say overall, if you had to do a pit stop, I think you're probably going to be about 7 or 8 seconds slower in a clean run, and that's not taking into account the dirty air and the traffic you would face as well. So even if you are absolutely abysmal on tyres, you're just going to have to deal with the tyre wear at the end. There's, it's just not going to be worth your while making a pit stop, which is a little bit of a shame. It would be nice if maybe the pit stop strategy and the no stop strategy kind of came together to make both viable, but it's just not going to be the case in this one. It's going to be 7 or 8 seconds slower making that pit stop, and as I said, that's without taking into account the fact that you're going to have to do some overtaking and face that dirty air as well. So for this one, it's going to be a no stop strategy on the soft tyres. Try and look after those tyres at the beginning of the race if you can. It'll probably reap you some rewards towards the end. The car that looks the best on the tyre wear out of the 3 2016 cars is the Honda NSX. It also looks like it maybe has a little bit of a pace advantage as well. And that's pretty much it for this one. It's going to be a sort of tyre war towards the end. It's going to be a race where, things start to get a little bit more racy, spicy, whatever word you want to use, towards the last 3 laps as that tyre wear kicks in. If you're good on the tyres, then you're going to be in good position for this one towards the end of the race. If you're really bad on tyres, if you're possibly on the pad compared to the wheel players, you're going to be at a disadvantage for those last few laps as well. But that's pretty much it for this one. I think this race might have been a little bit better with maybe a mandatory pit stop, maybe even cut that tyre wear down to ×2, and with a mandatory pit stop you would have that decision to make. Do you change the tyres to have better grip towards the end, or do you maybe save the 3-4 seconds that you don't by not changing the tyres, and then see if you can kind of use that advantage to hold on towards the end or open up a gap. It would have been a much more interesting race, but as it is looking like it's just going to be the no stop on the soft tyres, and it's all about that tyre wear towards the end. Anyway, let's finish with a lap guide. Coming down into turn 1, you're looking for the obligatory 50 metre board, a little bit of road into the left hand side there as your kind of reference point. Now you can go a little bit beyond that. You used to be able to go all the way to the curb with the soft tyres, but that's your kind of reference, that's what you're kind of working towards, and then how brave are you going to be into turn 1. Now coming through the S's, it's all about momentum, it's all about having control over that front end of the car. If you start to understeer on one part of the S's, you tend to understeer all the way through them, so it's all about making sure you get the nose of the car pitched into the corners, and that way you are not going to be losing too much lap time. Through the Dunlop curve, you probably can't take that full throttle in qualifying. It will be a slight lift in race trim. Down towards Degner 1, 50 metre board as your reference. You want to take a little bit of curb on the inside, but not too much curb, or it will upset the car. And then towards the end of the curb here for Degner 2, now you don't want to go all the way to the end. It's a kind of a judgment one. Some of these corners are funny. You just do that many laps of them, and you have a kind of feel for where to brake rather than an exact reference. But the hairpin is the end of the curb you're looking for, so that's a good reference for the hairpin. All the way down into first gear, try and get into the apex as well. There's a little bit of camber there, will let the car round the corner. Then obviously the earlier you get on the throttle for the run up to spoon is absolutely vital. It's kind of a straight, it's full throttle, but it's not really a straight, is it? So the road on the right hand side is your reference point for spoon curve. Down into third gear, really nice corner when you get it right, really easy corner to go a little bit, tiny bit wide and spin off. This second part of spoon is off camber, so make sure you're over the bump before you fully commit to the throttle. And again, we're on the run down now to 130R. Easy full throttle in these cars, and we're coming to the corner that's a little bit strange at the moment, and I heard other people talking about this in some of their tests. So it used to be the kind of towards the 100 metre board you would brake for the Casio triangle, but you want to be braking a good bit before that 100 metre board, so just after the 150, maybe about 130 metres is about as brave as you want to be, because it seems to be very easy to go too deep in these Group 2 cars. Big chunk of curb for both parts of the Casio triangle, and then your full throttle all the way down to the start finish line. But that's a lap of Suzuka in the Honda NSX. It's a 1 minute 50.383, something along those lines. Hopefully that has been useful in some way, shape or form. And just to reiterate, yes, it's the no stopper on the soft tyres, which is kind of unusual. We don't often get a no stopper on soft tyres, to be fair. It could have been slightly better if they maybe kind of brought in maybe a mandatory pit stop or something. Might have been something they could have looked at for this one. But yeah, it'll be a reasonable enough race. It's Group 2 at Suzuka. It's not an unfun race. We've done it a million times before in GT7 and GT Sport, but you know, it is what it is. We'll certainly be live streaming it a couple of times over the course of the week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.